The next generation of Hero motorcycles began with the Xtreme 200R, which featured a brand new 200cc engine. Well, Hero went extreme and brought along the XPulse, which lived up to the off-roading capabilities of the old Impulse. We have ridden that bike and you can check out our review by clicking the link right here. But Hero didn't stop right there. They made a touring motorcycle based on the XPulse, the XPulse 200T. So here's what's different between the two bikes. And the biggest difference is this. Instead of the 2118 spoke wheel setup from the XPulse, here you get the 17-inch alloy wheels from the Xtreme 200R. And you get the same tire setup from the Xtreme, that is this front bias ply Nilo grip from MRF, as well as the rear radial tire. Now these tires are tubeless, which will help definitely in Indian touring conditions. And because the wheels are smaller than the XPulse, the seat height has gone down, and that means I am better off reaching my feet on the floor. And even shorter riders who are shorter than 5'10" will feel it a bit more easier to manage on this bike than on the XPulse. And even though the handlebars are slightly narrower than the XPulse, the overall riding posture is quite upright. So when you're out touring, this is a good place to be in. However, the ground clearance has gone down, but it still manages to clear the nastiest of speed breakers with ease. Plus, this XPulse 200T is 4 kilos lighter than the XPulse, which makes it slightly more easier to live with. The suspension bits here, well, they might seem like the ones found on the XPulse, but they aren't so. The front fork gets the same forward offset axle like the XPulse. However, the internals are different. The wheel travel at both ends is the same as the ones found on the Xtreme and not the XPulse. But the internals have a unique tune that is dedicated to the 200T.
Out on the highway, the 200T does not feel firm, but it is not supple either. For instance, going over mild undulations such as tarmac ripples at speeds in the region of 40 to 45 kmph, you get a sense of the conditions beneath you, but they will not hurt your back. What might give you a jolt is when you take larger road imperfections a bit more spiritedly. Here the rear monoshock could just kick back. Perhaps this issue could be resolved by altering the preload setting, or a slow rebound damping could be the cure. We will address this issue when we get the bike for a proper road test. The ride feels pretty pliant, and even with a pillion on board, it does not feel unsettling at all. When riding two up, there is a bit of sag, which could lead to bottoming out when going over bumps. However, we are certain that this issue could be solved by just pumping up the preload.
There is a problem, and it is quite serious, and it has to do with the engine. Hero is pitching this bike to be a tourer, but this engine doesn't live up to its touring capabilities, and by that I mean when you're out on the highway doing speeds of 100 kmph, it feels very strained, very stressed. You are doing in excess of 7,000 rpm. Even 80 kmph comes at a very high 6,000 rpm, and at that point you are met with significant amount of vibrations at the pegs.
It does run a little more stress than the XPulse, as the T shares its final drive ratios with the Xtreme. Dimensionally, both the XPulse 200 twins have the same brake setup, a 276mm disc with a dual piston caliper up front and a smaller 220mm rotor with just a single piston caliper acting on it. However, on the T, you miss out on the pedal rotors found on the XPulse. But still, the braking performance is certainly better given that this bike runs on road spec tires. We just wished for better lever feedback as there is hardly anything present. In comparison to its other two 200cc siblings, the styling department on the XPulse 200T is rather a somber affair. You get the same tank, LED headlight, LED tail light, body panels and the Bluetooth enabled fully digital console found on the XPulse. Hero claims that the styling has a bit of a retro vibe to it, but we are not so sure. The colors on offer are not the most flattering in our opinion, and we are not totally sold on the styling. But we will let you decide, and you can do so by letting us know in the comment section below.
With Hero's 200cc offerings, I get where the Xtreme is pitched. It's for the commuter buyer, it's for daily usage. And the XPulse, well, it's for the hardcore off-road enthusiast. But if you want a touring motorcycle and you're looking at this, well, I don't think so. This is quite the right choice.
And that is a shame, as Hero has managed to price the bike at a delicious price point of just Rs 94,000 ex-showroom Delhi. If only Hero managed to get the bike as right as they have with the pricing, then the XPulse 200T would have been impossible to resist.